Hello, everyone. Andrew here with Kimball Realtors of the Wisconsin Dells area. I want to talk to you today about the actual offer to purchase. So, let's say you've been looking for homes now for a while, and you finally found a home that you like and you want to make an offer on. I want to go over with you a little bit about what the actual offer to purchase is and what the details are, what's involved in there, because this is something that's very important in not only having a clean offer to purchase to get your offer accepted, but to have everything, the legal terms that we need. This is where it's really important that you have a competent real estate agent working with you, filling out this offer to purchase, because a mistake in the offer to purchase can really cause a lot of problems down the road. So I'm going to be referring to the Wisconsin offer to purchase mostly here because I'm a licensed realtor in the state of Wisconsin, and so I'm going to be referring to that one. So every state's going to differ a little bit, but these are kind of the basics of what's going to be in most of them. And again, specifically the state of Wisconsin, talk to your real estate agent about what is required in your state. But in Wisconsin, we use what's called the WB11. It's a standard form. It starts with the address of the property. Now, I know that may sound very simple, but you want to make sure this is correct, especially when you're a rural area, because oftentimes you may have a zip code for one area and the property actually, oh, Aries is going to join us. Aries and Angel are here with us. Okay. So you might have a zip code in one area and the property actually being in a town. So for example, my zip code is Wisconsin Dells, but I live in the town of Delona. That's going to make a difference for the lender when it starts going through underwriting. If they see a difference in there, they're going to wonder about that, and they're going to maybe need an amendment to explain that a little bit. So you want to make sure right off the bat that you're getting that correct. The very next thing that's going to be in your offer to purchase is the price you're offering for the home, what the purchase price is going to be. So that's going to be your starting point. The home may be listed at a certain amount, and you're saying, hey, I'm going to offer this amount for the home. You want to be careful not to put a very low starting point in. Sometimes people say, well, let's see how low they'll go, and they'll put a low price in. I've had sellers that have just been insulted by a lower price and said, look, I'm not selling it to that person, which is their right to do. They can decide who they're going to sell their home to. And so if they get insulted by a low offer, they may not take another offer if you bring an offer in that's better. I've seen that happen before. So you don't want to insult that, but you also want to make sure that you're paying what you think is a fair price for the home. And that's where hopefully your real estate agent has been able to show you some comps and show you that here's what a fair price for that home is. This market is such a strange market. And now with interest rates changing, things are going to change even more. So it's very important. Again, like I said, I can't stress it enough. Have a competent real estate agent that you're working with. So that's your purchase price. The next thing that's going to be in that offer is going to be what's actually included in your offer. So oftentimes people are going to be leaving the major appliances. Maybe they're going to leave the range oven, refrigerator, washer, dryer type thing. So you're going to say what's included in that offer to purchase. You also want to make sure if you're using a lender, that you've already talked to your lender to see how they want that worded, because banks only want to lend on the physical property. They don't want to lend on anything else. So if there's say it's on a large acreage and they're going to leave a four-wheeler for you there, you don't really want to put that in your offer to purchase. You want to do a separate bill of sale for that four-wheeler because the banks don't want to lend on that four-wheeler. So you want to keep that in mind. You want to talk to your lender to see what they want in there. And then also what's important is what's not included. Oftentimes there's items that you may think are going to be included, but the seller has already said, look, I'm taking those with me. So you want to find out if there's any certain items that they've said, yes, we are taking with us. You want to have that very clear so that there's no confusion come closing date on your final walkthrough. Sometimes maybe people are taking the washer and dryer with them, and the people thought the washer and dryer was still going to be there. You get to walk through, the washer and dryer is gone. Now we've got a problem. So you want to make sure you're very clear, black and white, on what's going to be included in the purchase price and what they're not going to be included in that purchase price. You're also going to have the time of acceptance, how long you're going to give them to accept your offer. Because oftentimes people want to think about this, but in a what we call a seller's market, things are happening very fast. So sometimes people are making it shorter for what their time for binding acceptance is. That simply is, if I'm presenting this to you on Friday, I want an answer again by Monday on there. You can either counter my offer or tell me you accept my offer, or you can reject my offer. But I want to know just so that I can move on to a different one if you're not going to accept my offer. Earnest money becomes very important. Earnest money is like a deposit, showing that you're serious about purchasing this house. Now, for our company, Kimball Realtors, we have a rule of thumb that we put down $1,000 earnest money for every $100,000 for purchase price. So if you're buying a $400,000 home, you would put down $4,000 in earnest money. Shows the seller that you're serious about purchasing this home. That earnest money then does get applied to the purchase price of the home at closing, or it gets returned if you use one of the contingencies that I'm talking about later on. So it's kind of a good faith deposit that you're putting down. Again, if you're buying a $400,000 home and earnest money comes in, it's only $500, the seller might be like, well, are they really serious? Do they have the means to buy this home if that's all they can put down for their earnest money? Excuse me, I just got to have a sip of coffee here while I'm talking. So that's the next thing, is the earnest money. The next thing on the Wisconsin real estate offer to purchase is the real estate condition report. The real estate condition report is very important because that's the report that the seller is telling you if there are any defects in the home. So what they're doing is they're going to disclose any defects that they know of in the home. The reason that's very important is because if you have an inspection later and you want something fixed, if it's already on that real estate condition report, let's say it's got a standalone garage and that standalone garage needs a new roof, and they put on the real estate condition report that it needs a new roof. Now, when you have your inspection done, you can't say, well, I'm not moving forward because the garage needs a new roof. So you really want to look that over, because that's going to be for both your protection and the seller's protection on what could possibly come up if there is anything there. If they know of any defects, which a defect is something that affects the safety or the value of the home, if they know of any, they're obligated to report them at that time. A good real estate agent will have walked through the home with the seller before listing, and if they've seen any obvious defects, they're going to point that out and say, look, if you see a crack in the foundation in the basement, let's put that on the real estate condition report, because we don't want it to become a problem later on when they do an inspection. We've already disclosed that that's a potential defect in this home. So those are things that might come up in your real estate condition report, which leads me to the inspection contingency. Now, right now, you have a choice in Wisconsin. Some states require that you have an inspection, but in Wisconsin, you have a choice if you have an inspection or not. And the inspection contingency basically says, we're going to have it inspected by a licensed inspector, and then we're going to negotiate whether there's anything we want to have repaired or not. Some people are not having that inspection and not using the inspection contingency because they think that they are going to be more likely to get that offer without it. My fear, and what I tell people is, you're going to be buying someone else's problem if you do that. I've actually done a separate video on, do I need an inspection? And if you want to really get into that inspection a lot more, watch that video called Do I Need an Inspection? Because it is still very important that you get an inspection. The next thing on there is the financing contingency. If you're going to be using financing, it's very important that the financing contingency is filled out correctly, because this protects the buyer and the seller both. You have the type of loan that you're going to get, so the seller knows if you're using a conventional loan through a bank, that's going to be one that's going to be a pretty good process of getting it through underwriting. If you're using a different loan program, if you're using, for example, a VA loan, with the VA loan, I love using VA loans because I love working with our service members, but there are more restrictions with the VA loan. There's going to be a more thorough appraisal, more thorough inspection. Now in Wisconsin, and I think it's nationwide, they've reinstated the mandatory termite inspection with a VA loan, which doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it might be hard to get someone to get out there and do that inspection when everything's moving so fast. So those are things to consider, and a seller is going to consider that. Also, if you're using we use a lot of rural development loans in this area, and those are a little harder to get through because the inspection process is harder. And so the seller is going to look at that and say, well, are they paying cash? Because cash is great. If we don't have a lot of things we got to jump through for inspections and appraisals, cash is better. They're also going to look at what type of loan program you have. Very important at this point already too, to make sure you've got a pre-approval for your loan, because when you send the offer to purchase, you want to send that pre-approval for your loan, because if you don't have that and an identical offer comes in and that person's already pre-approved, they already know that that person's going to have a better chance of getting that loan than someone that hasn't been pre-approved yet. Oftentimes people will, maybe there's something in their credit they didn't know about. They go to the bank to get pre-approved and they can't get pre-approved. Now the whole deal is falling apart. So get pre-approved before you make your offer. You really should get pre-approved, before you even start looking at homes. I always recommend anyone that I work with get a proof of funds letter or a pre-approval letter, because it's going to make the offer that much better when we get to that offer as well. And you want to be ready. If you're competing with someone who has that pre-approval or proof of funds letter and your offer doesn't, the other offer is probably going to get accepted before yours is. So with the financing contingency too, that gives you the type of loan, what the interest rate's going to be, and that protects you in that if the interest rates go up higher like they've been going up, that you can get your earnest money back because the interest rate is now higher than what it was when you started looking at homes and higher than you're comfortable paying. There's also what's called a loan commitment letter, which that actually helps the buyer and seller both, and that's a amount of time that the bank is going to have to get that loan commitment letter to the seller. And what happens in Wisconsin, if that loan commitment letter doesn't come when it's supposed to, the seller can now sell that home to someone else. So you want to keep on track on those type of things. And that's something you want to make sure your realtor is keeping track of. I'm going over the very basics on these here. There's actually more to it than what I'm going over, but I'm just trying to go over some of the basics. If you have questions, always you can give me a call anytime with any real estate questions that you have. Be glad to answer any of your real estate questions. But the next thing on our offer to purchase is the appraisal contingency. The appraisal contingency is going to be very important when you have lending, because the bank's not going to lend more than a property was appraised for. So if you're looking at a home that was worth $300,000 and you say, well, I'm going to make an offer of $350,000, then if it only appraises at $300,000, you're going to have to come up with that other $50,000 to make that loan move forward. And sellers are also going to look at that. The seller should know, based on talking to their real estate agent, what their home is going to appraise at. So, for example, I've had some issues over the summer where we had multiple offers, and some of the offers were so high and they were lending, I knew they weren't going to appraise out. So it didn't make any sense to take that offer because I already knew that wasn't going to reach the appraisal part of it. And sure enough, on each one of them, when the appraisals came, they came at the price that the offer that we made. See, Angel has joined us here as well. So I got Angel and I got Aries on the other side. So the appraisal contingency is very important. The next thing is going to be the offer is going to address, and in Wisconsin, we use title insurance, and how the title insurance is going to be paid for, who's going to provide it. And that's where the title company is going to come in. They're going to do a title search, make sure you're going to get a clean title for that property. So that's going to come up next is the title insurance on it. Occupancy date's going to be very important. You want to make sure the occupancy date is the same day of closing. In Wisconsin, we use the term called broom swept condition. So day of closing, or maybe a couple days before, you'll do a walkthrough, and everything has to be in broom swept condition. That's what the term that they use here in the state of Wisconsin. So it doesn't mean they have to have the carpet shampooed and the floors mopped and everything like that. It's called broom swept condition. So that's what you can expect when you go do your walkthrough. They've removed all of their items out, and the house is in broom swept condition. So that's your occupancy. And then your closing date's also going to be on there. Your closing date's going to be very important for especially the lending part of it and what your title company can do. The title company I work with, sometimes we can close a cash offer within 2 weeks. Lending can take 6 to 7 weeks. That's where it's also important to talk to your lender to find out how much time they're going to need, because they're going to need to get an appraisal out there. It's going to have to get through underwriting. So it's very important that you know what time frame each one the lender is going to need for that. These are some real basics. I've gone over these kind of quick. I'm always guilty of going over things kind of fast because, again, I've gone through these transactions hundreds of times. So there's more to this than those basic things. But those are the basics that you're going to have in your offer to purchase. Talk to your real estate agent about the specifics of your offer to purchase in your state. Again, I'm kind of going by the Wisconsin one. If you're in Wisconsin, I worked in Wisconsin Dells area. So I worked Baraboo, Reedsburg, Wisconsin Dells, really Sauk County, Juneau County, Adams County, all around this radius here. You can give me a call, 608-477-3476. Glad to talk to you about anything real estate related. If you're looking for a home and you're still in the process of looking, you can go on our website, which is really simple, wisconsindellshomesforsale.com, and that will show you everything that's for sale in this time. So I hope this helped you. If it did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below on what else you'd like to hear about, any specific part of the real estate transaction you'd like to hear about. I'll be doing some more videos on more specifics of the real estate transaction. This was just for a single family home. It becomes different when you're talking about multiple residences, or if you're talking about a condominium, or if you're talking about commercial, or we're talking about vacant land. Those are all very different in their offer to purchase and what's required on those. So this is for purchasing a single family home. I hope this advice helps you. And like I said, subscribe because we'll be doing more of these. Comment down below on what you'd like to see more of. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Okay. I'm done, I think.